The pension's triple lock. Are you planning to ditch that to help pay for a COVID recovery?
I'm reading all sorts of stuff at the moment, which is I don't recognise at all about the government's plans. What we're doing, the single most important thing for the economy and indeed paying for the recovery, is to ensure that we continue cautiously but irreversibly to unlock and get our economy moving again. That is the priority of the government, and we're working very hard on that. At the moment, it still looks to me as though July the 19th is a terminus point, and you can see what's happening already. We're seeing employment up, we're seeing jobs up, we're seeing vacancies up. We've got a lot of demand now, and we want to get things moving as fast as we possibly can, but in a sustainable way.
Social care, big plan due release tomorrow. Do you favour the deal not model where care costs are capped at £50,000?
I appreciate your desire to extract information about this, and you're right, because we are pledged to fix it, and we must fix it for our country and for our society. The social care workers have borne the brunt of the pandemic, and we've got to improve it, and we will. We'll be bringing forward some good plans in due course.
Just record numbers of vaccines being administered in the last 48 hours, lots of pressure to the travel industry, from events and entertainment to open up. Are you going to bring opening up forward?
As I say, the vaccination rollout is going gangbusters, and loads of people are coming forward now for their second jabs. Please come forward, get your second jab. And it's great that today we'll have done all of JCVI 1 to 9, so everybody over 50 will have been offered 2 jabs as of today, plus all care workers, all the vulnerable groups, huge numbers of people. I think almost 60% of adults in this country have now had or been offered 2 jabs. So we're one of the most vaccinated countries in the world. But look at the numbers of Delta. The Delta variant, it is sadly going up still. It's going up by about 30% a week in cases, hospitalisations up by roughly the same amount, and so sadly ICU admissions into intensive care. So we've got to be cautious, but we'll be following the data the whole time.
And just finally on that, you've been very clear, you want the unlocking in July to be irreversible. Your science advisors, and we'll talk about them a bit more in a minute, I hope, are saying there is always the possibility this winter we are going to see resurgence. We might need to lock down again. Will you rule out the potential for future lockdowns, potentially as early as this winter, because of changes in the pandemic?
I think you can never exclude that there will be some new disease, some new horror that we simply haven't budgeted for or accounted for. But looking at where we are, looking at the efficacy of the vaccines against all the variants that we can currently see, so Alpha, Delta, the lot of them, Kappa, I think it's looking good for July the 19th to be that terminus point. I think what the scientists are saying is that things like flu will come back this winter. We may have a rough winter for all sorts of reasons, and obviously there are big pressures on the NHS. All the more reason to reduce the number of COVID cases now, give the NHS the breathing space it needs to get on with dealing with all those other pressures, and we're certainly going to be putting in the investment to make sure that they can.
I've just, in all the pressure of my political goals, completely forgot to ask a question about today's announcement. I'm sorry about that. So
that's right.
Quickly, I was just so packed by the lobby.
Yeah.
So I suppose, what has prompted you to make today's announcement? Is it some of the lessons that you've learned from the pandemic, from talking to all those scientists, to centralise science in this way?
Science is the great liberator. Let's look at what's happening in our country today. I don't think there can have been a time in modern memory when every individual, every family has owed so much to British scientists and their achievements. So I've long believed that we need to invest more in science as a country. We're putting 22 billion in. We're now setting up a National Science and Technology Council, led by me, advised by Patrick Vallance. We want to focus on all the things where we think that the UK could have a strategic advantage. But more important than that, we want to use that public investment to trigger the waves of private investment that we need. Unfortunately, the UK, as the private corporations in the UK, only invest a fraction of the OECD average in research, in basic technological and scientific development that they could be doing in their labs in the way that they do in other countries. We can be and will be a science superpower if we reverse that, and that's the plan we're setting out today.
And if I may just follow up on that, one thing we are hearing though is that Treasury is often saying we haven't got money to pay for these projects. You know, the coffers are pretty bare at the moment. Can you fund that? Can you commit to that science funding? Is this costed?
We're committed in the budget and in our manifesto to massive scientific investments, 22 billion. I mean, this is the biggest ever that the state has committed to, and that's on top, by the way, of all the investments that we've made in the NHS and so forth over the last year or so. But what we want to see as well is the private sector stepping up with all their billions and trillions, and commercial labs around the UK, private companies investing as well, because we've shown through the vaccine rollout that we can be absolute pioneers, that we can change science, we can change the economy through scientific breakthrough. We can add immeasurably to the sum of human happiness and potential through scientific breakthrough. The lesson is there before us in the vaccine rollout and the breakthroughs of Oxford, AstraZeneca and all the other scientists involved. So let's turbocharge that now in all those other sectors and build on the UK's natural advantage and return to our status as a science superpower.